Good morning. I want to talk now about the upcoming lunar month for countries and people, part two. And this will be the lunar month from September 2nd through October 2nd. So let me see if I can share my screen and we can begin. This will take just a moment. I have to get rid of some panels here so that I can see what I'm doing. Just bear with me for a few more seconds. Okay, and I think we're ready. So this is the lunar month for countries and people, part two. Putin, Russia, Ukraine, King Charles, Cape Middleton, United Kingdom, and Pope Francis, September 2nd through October 2nd. And we'll begin with Vladimir Putin. I have his chart on the inside. There's still some dispute about his birth data, but this chart seems to work well. And I have the full moon for the month on the outside, and this full moon, as I have said in some other videos, it's a rather special full moon because it's a lunar eclipse. So any close aspects are going to be intensified at this time. And the end of the lunar month, the new moon for the next month on October 2nd, it is also special because it is a solar eclipse. Okay. Now, given all that, let's take a look at Putin. And it looks like Putin will probably have a pretty good month. His good aspects outnumber his bad aspects, so a lot of things will probably go his way. He will have transiting Chiron in opposition to both natal Mercury and natal Neptune. Consequently, he could be wounded and he could wound others. Chiron is going through his sixth house of health and occupation. So there could be some wounding in those areas. With Mercury conjunct Neptune, he adheres to a certain idealistic ideology, which probably doesn't necessarily work all that well. And there certainly, I'm sure, errors in his thinking about many things. And that is going to be a source of some of the wounding. He could be wounded, he could wound others. There could also be coup or assassination attempts. That's kind of an extreme expression of what's going on, but it's still a possibility, even if it's a remote possibility. Now, he has a lot of beneficial aspects, which are going to make the month easier for him. He has transiting Chiron, making a trine to his natal Pluto. Pluto is in his 10th house, it rules his 4th house. So he is going to get a lot of healing too, as far as his position and his power go. He has Jupiter making a trine to his north node, which means it makes a sextile to his south node. So that is going to provide a little intensification or increase of his luck and his growth. Transing Jupiter is also making a trine to his natal Neptune. So I'm sure he will stand firm in his ideological beliefs. They will get some luck and growth this time around. And transiting Jupiter as sextile, his natal midheaven. So that works well for staying in power and expanding his power. He has several good aspects involving Jupiter. Jupiter is growth, expansion, and your luck. So again, many things will probably go well for Putin this month. Transiting Chiron is also making a trine to his midheaven. So that is also going to provide some healing for his position and his status. So, for better or worse, it's looking like it could be a good month for Putin. He has a lot of good aspects. Uh, Transiting Chiron in opposition to Mercury and Neptune, that is the fly in the ointment. Uh, it could be more serious than I think, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, we look to see when these aspects will be in effect, when they're exact, how long they last. Here's the bar graph. And since this lunar month goes from September 2nd to October 2nd, we're looking mainly at the September side of the graph, but you can also see what's coming up in October. It looks like that next lunar month will be pretty good for him also. He has Chiron opposition Neptune becoming exact on October 15th, but you can see a lot of good aspects becoming exact around that time. And in September, the opposition of Chiron to Mercury, that is going to be fading. And these other good aspects will pretty much rule the month for him. Now, when it comes to Russia, it's a different story. Russia and the Russian people are probably going to experience more hard times than good times this month. We have transiting Pluto, making a sesquiquadrate to natal Jupiter. Transiting Pluto is near the cusp of the seventh house. That's others, that's other nations. Jupiter is in the third house, which has to do with travel, communication. The girl Sagittarius, which is contained within the fifth house of personal creativity. Uh, Bottom line is other nations, probably the sanctions from other nations, they are going to continue to put the squeeze on Russia's growth. And transiting Saturn, making a sesquiquadrate to the natal ascendant, that is going to add further feelings of restriction for the Russian people. Transiting Jupiter, opposite Mars, there will probably be efforts to expand military activities. This could also be an expansion of protests against Putin within Russia. There's more than one way that these things can work out, and we can never know for certain what people are going to choose. Transiting Jupiter, making a sesquiquadrate to natal Saturn over here. Again, there is a conflict between growth and the sanctions that other countries are imposing upon Russia. There might be even an increase in those sanctions. And transiting Saturn in opposition to natal Jupiter, that is another indication of restriction upon growth. So we see Jupiter being involved in a lot of these afflictions, Saturn being involved, a lot of things which suggests restrictions upon growth. Now, the one good aspect is that transiting Saturn will be making a sextile to natal Neptune. So people may be buying into the ideology that is governing the nation. Or since Neptune is getting, well, it's not that close to the cusp of the seventh house, but it's in the sixth house. Sixth house has to do with labor and health. There may be some gains in that area for the country. But all in all, I expect a lot of hard times for Russia this month, restrictions upon growth, and rather depressing conditions for a lot of the people. And here you can see the bar graph showing when things are in effect. This Pluto sesquiquadrate Jupiter, that is really strong throughout both September and October. Saturn sextile Neptune, that will be exact on September 8th and goes until about the last week of September. And then we have all these hard aspects that are going to be active throughout. Okay, now if we look at Ukraine, it also has a lot of challenges and a few lifelines this lunar month. Let's see, we have transiting Neptune, making a sesquiquadrate to the midheaven. And Neptune is in Ukraine's second house, which has to do with resources. There may be some problem related to resources, which affects the leadership of Ukraine. Of course, uh, Neptune square midheaven, that could also refer to assassination attempts. Again, that's a rather extreme result, but it could happen. Hopefully not. Transiting Uranus is going to be square natal Venus over here. So that indicates some sort of disruption. Uranus is in the fourth house, which has to do with the homeland. Venus is in the eighth house of death and transformation, and it rules the fourth house. So there could be some more disruption within the homeland, as if there's not already enough death and disruption occurring. Revolutions, unexpected events of all kinds. Transiting Saturn, let's see, over here is going to be semi-square natal Saturn in the first house. So the Ukrainian people, they are obviously going to have to continue to feel restriction and hard times in their life. And transiting Jupiter is making a semi-square to natal Chiron in the seventh house. There could be more wounding and more health problems for the people of Ukraine. This wounding could come from other nations, obviously Russia, but also if nations don't provide Ukraine the support that it needs now, that can also result in wounding. And then we have transiting Uranus is making a square to both natal Mercury and natal Jupiter. Again, this is promising unexpected things. This is eighth house, which is death, transformation, and other people's resources. This could refer to sudden deaths within Ukraine itself. It could refer to sudden changes in the availability of resources being provided by other countries. So, lots of ways these things could work out, but it looks like Ukraine will experience a variety of unexpected twists and turns this lunar month and more restrictions upon the people. But the lifelines, though, are we have transiting Chiron, making a sextile to the natal moon, which is conjunct the cusp of the second house. So there could be some healing in terms of resources. Transiting Saturn is going to be making a sextile to natal Neptune in the first house. That could help stabilize the public's resolve to persevere. And transiting Jupiter is going to be trine the natal moon. That is going to provide luck to Ukraine, and luck specifically with regard to the resources it needs. So it's going to have some hard times, unexpected events, most likely based upon this astrological weather, but also get some lifelines, some relief here. Now, if we look to see when these things are in effect, uh, Chiron sextile the moon, that is going to be in effect throughout the lunar month. And half of the next one, it becomes exact on the 23rd. The harder stuff, it's going to be there throughout. Neptune making a sesquiquadrate to the midheaven, that grows in strength throughout the lunar month, becomes exact on October 6th. During the next lunar month, Saturn sextile Neptune, that kicks in the last half of September, becomes exact on the next new moon, that solar eclipse on October 2nd. Okay, now let's take a look at King Charles. It's interesting, a lot of people I look at in this presentation, some are from democratic countries, some are from dictatorships, but they are all, for the most part, people that uh, we don't easily get news about. uh, it's not like Putin's private life is made publicly known all the time, and likewise for the royals, and likewise for Pope Francis. Okay, now as far as King Charles goes, you can see he's going to continue to have a lot more hard aspects than good aspects. And these are probably going to impact his health and his cancer condition a lot. He continues to have Pluto squaring his natal moon. It's separating from that square right now, but Pluto doesn't get any further into Capricorn than 29 plus degrees of Capricorn. And in middle of the fall, it's going to turn direct and be getting closer and closer, applying to the moon once again. So his health is very much at risk still. Transiting Uranus is opposed uh, to his natal Chiron. So again, this can be sudden wounding, sudden changes in his health. Transiting Jupiter is making a semi-square to the north node, which means it's making a sesquiquadrate to the south node. And this can intensify things for him this month, since Jupiter is going through the 11th house of people he works with. He may have to rely more on others to perform various royal duties. Transiting Saturn is making a semi-square to his natal moon. This is going to add to the health problems, the restrictions on his health, as indicated by Pluto square moon. Transiting Jupiter is semi-square his ascendant. I do see in the news that Queen Camilla keeps saying that he's trying to do too much. And this would indicate that he will, Jupiter's expansion, the ascendant is itself, he may be trying to take on too many tasks. And transiting Jupiter opposite his natal Mars, while trying to do too much, that could result in accidents or bodily harm of some sort. And transiting Jupiter sesquiquadrate his natal Mercury. Again, he may be overdoing it on speech engagements and things of that sort. So there's a lot of things going on involving Jupiter, which are hard aspects, which all suggest that he is likely trying to overdo it. He has negative aspects to the moon from Pluto and Saturn, and so his health is still at risk. Now, the two lifelines he gets is transiting Neptune is making a trine to his natal Chiron. This could indicate, for instance, chemotherapy that may be effective. Transiting Chiron is also trine his natal Mars. and that could provide some healing to the body. Let's hope so. And here you can see when all of these aspects will be in effect. A lot of the hard aspects become exact during September. The Neptune trine Chiron, that is going to grow in strength, and it will be exact one day before the next new moon, that solar eclipse. The Chiron trine his natal Mars, that kicks in right at the end of September, so it's not going to have that much of an impact this lunar month. It will have more of an impact in the next lunar month, which looks like it may be a little easier upon King Charles. Now, when we look at Kate Middleton, she still may be relapsing a bit, but these good aspects suggest that she is strong and that she will recover. She still has transing Chiron square the natal north node of the moon, which means it's also squaring the south node. This is intensifying wounding, transiting Jupiter, semi-square natal midheaven. She's still going to probably have trouble doing her royal duties. Transiting Chiron is also opposite her natal Saturn, making this kind of a karma thing uh, with all the restriction and with all the wounding. So transiting Chiron is really completing a grand cross here. And transiting Jupiter is making a sesquiquadrant to natal Mercury. And let's see, wasn't the same thing happening with, yeah, same thing happening with King Charles. Interesting. So I suspect that they're both still wounded. They both may be trying to do a little bit too much when they need to rest and heal. The good news is transing Jupiter is making a sextile to her natal ascendant and also to her Saturn. So this is going to help strengthen her, both of these aspects, and provide her some growth and luck. So if she is having more of a setback this month, I think she will also endure and come out of it. Hopefully. None of this is for certain. Again, it's just a weather report. Now, if we look at when things will be exact, the 16th is when the square of transiting Chiron to the lunar nodes is exact. The 30th is when the opposition of transiting Chiron to Saturn is exact. Jupiter semi-square the midheaven, that's going to be exact on the 13th of September. And Jupiter sesquiquadrant Mercury, that is going to be exact on October 1st and into the next lunar month, again on October 17th. The sextile from Jupiter to the ascendant, that is exact on September 10th. It's strong throughout most of the lunar month. As it fades, the trine from transiting Jupiter to Saturn starts to kick in. So both of those things will help her get through this period. All right, if we look at the United Kingdom, amazingly, just two main aspects this month. Transiting Saturn, sesquiquadrant natal Jupiter, that can put some restrictions on growth. Maybe these will be restrictions that the government imposes by choice, or to get a balance between growth and regulation. Or it could be something coming from outside, which they just simply cannot avoid. We don't know for certain here. The good news is transiting Chiron is going to be making a trine to natal Saturn. So that will help heal and stabilize things. And whatever regulations or restrictions imposed, they might turn out to be healing in the long run. So aside from that, UK may be on autopilot for a while and not have any really bad things or really beneficial things happening. Now, the sesquiquadrate from Saturn to natal Jupiter, it peters out maybe about after the first week and a half of September. The trine from Transing Chiron to natal Saturn, that perseveres throughout, well, beyond, a little bit beyond mid-September. And then there's kind of nothing here until you get toward the end of the next lunar month when a couple of hard aspects start to kick in but don't get too terribly strong. Okay, and lastly, we'll take a look at Pope Francis, and he continues to have a lot of difficult aspects, but a couple of good aspects. At his age, with his health, it's really a question of uh, how much longer he can last as head of the church, how much longer he can continue in this lifetime. He has transiting Pluto, making a square to natal midheaven. Let's see right over here. That is putting pressure on him to change his status, perhaps, as head of the church. Right now, Pluto is moving retrograde, separating from the square, but around mid-fall, it will turn direct, and then the square will become exact once again. Transiting Uranus is making a sesquiquadrate to his natal Mercury, suggesting some unexpected communications of one sort or another. And Mercury rules his 12th house, so there could be some, for instance, unexpected illness, long-term illness. Transiting Saturn is uh, conjunct his natal Saturn. It's separating at the moment, but will be exact again before you know it. And so he's going through another Saturn return, another major change in his life. Uh, Again, given his age, his health, by the time this is all over, I don't expect him to be head of the church anymore. He may even come to the end of this life if the stresses and strains are too hard. Transiting Jupiter, it's going through his 12th house. It's making a square to Neptune, conjunct his natal Chiron. Possibilities, for example, of infection. That would be one thing, infection or illness that could occur. Transiting Saturn is semi-square. His midheaven, this is also putting pressure on his status as Pope. Transit Jupiter is making a semi-square to natal Uranus again. There could be unexpected sudden changes, and Uranus is in the 10th house, which has to do with his status. So another indication that his papacy may be coming to an end. And transiting Neptune is semi-square, natal moon, another indication of some sort of illness, infection, or weakening of the physical body. On the beneficial side, he has transiting Neptune, making a trine to his natal Pluto in the first house, and that will probably strengthen him in some way, either spiritually, if not physically. And he has transiting Jupiter, making a trine to his natal Mars. That could strengthen his physical body also. And there may be some effective communications during this lunar month, since Mars is in his third house. It will definitely strengthen his mind, if not his body. Okay, and here we can see when these aspects are going to be in effect. And Pluto square midheaven, it's pretty strong this lunar month and the next. Uh, Neptune trine Pluto, that is very strong this lunar month and the next. It's exact on September 29th. Transiting Jupiter trine Mars, that is exact on September 5th, and it kind of peters out after mid-September. He has a lot of negative aspects, becoming exact between September 13th and 23rd. And then he has more negative aspects becoming exact toward the end of the next lunar month. So the pressure is still on. A lot of hard aspects, mostly one good aspect, two for a while to help him see through this. Okay, that is going to be the end of the lunar month for countries and people part two. So let me stop sharing my screen here. And I'm back. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you join me for future presentations of astrological weather. And as I always say, this is just a weather report. What actually happens depends upon the decisions people make, how people decide to respond to that astrological weather. So it's just like with a hurricane. Uh, Initially, we don't know exactly which paths the hurricane will take. As we get closer to events, all those spaghetti lines, all those predictions for the hurricane, they usually start to converge. Uh, we have a pretty good idea of what will happen, but what actually happens is often a little different. As it is for hurricanes, so it is for astrology. So you've heard the weather report. Now let's just keep an eye on things and see what happens. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you join me again. And for now, I'll just say so long and be well.